Hello, welcome back again. How you doing? Um, in the previous video, I showed you how to connect Power Virtual Agents to Lewis, the Language Understanding Information Service. I am going to show you now how to use QnAmaker. So QnAmaker gives you probably a little bit more functionality than using a SharePoint list or a Microsoft list. The problem that I had with Microsoft lists is that the response can only be a maximum of 255 characters. So that's a bit of an issue. So what I want to do is, and especially if you're doing, say, a frequently asked question kind of bot where you're asking different things, then QnAmaker is probably the way to go. So we'll jump into QnAmaker. I've signed in and I've gone to my knowledge bases and I'm going to create a knowledge base. The first thing it's asking me to do is create a Q&A service with Azure. So we're going to do that, jump over there. And you need to make sure that you have got either a free account with Azure or a pay-as-you-go service. And the subscription is pay-as-you-go. I've already created a resource group called QnAmaker, so we're going to use that. Let's QnAmaker JDF test. It's going to be, I'm just going to use the free one, make sure that it's in the right Azure search location and the correct free pricing tier, and then we're going to put that in UK South as well. One thing that is really important here when you're creating QnAmaker, don't tick this managed preview button. When I was testing, I got really caught out by that, so you don't need to do that. Click on review and create, and then create. If you've got a free or if you've got a pay-as-you-go service with Azure, you can have one free QnAmaker service. We're just going to wait for that to deploy. Okay, great, all done. So we are going to go back to QnAmaker and click refresh. And we are going to use the pay-as-you-go subscription, the QnAmaker test that we just created. Just have to wait for it. So it takes about 10 minutes, so we're just going to have to wait for that to happen. In the meantime, while that's whirring, we can jump back in here and we can remove these bits. This is from the previous Lewis video. If you haven't seen that, I suggest you go and check that out. So the main reason why I think I explained at the start, the main reason why I want to use QnAmaker is because in Microsoft Lists, we had a title and a response column header, and the response field contents couldn't be larger than 255 characters. So if you were building a like a FAQ bot or something like that, then I would try and use QnAmaker instead. Let's see if this is sorted itself out, which I think it looks like it may have done. Let's great. We're going to choose English. We've given it the name, and I'm not going to worry about this. These bits really. Chit chat. You can click on here to learn more about chit chat. Basically, it's what's imported into your chatbot with a bit of like kind of casual conversation. I'm going to take the professional one, and then I'm going to click create your knowledge base. Just going to wait for that to get created. And what we are going to do is we need to create what's called Q&A pairs. So the idea is, as you can see here, these are the things that have come from the professional option that I added. So all these kind of questions. Yeah, I don't have a body. Okay, so we're going to create one, add a Q&A pair, and create two there, I think. Okay, so we are going to choose what is your name? My name is Dave. I live in the UK. Let's have live. We can add another Q&A pair. Let's think of another one. Okay, and the answer is and you can see you've got a few things that you can add in here. You can add images, you can add tables, you can do some, you know, bold and italics. I think you can even do markdown text, which is great. Yeah, so there's a lot more functionality in here around your answer, much more so than you can do with a Microsoft list. Okay, so we're good with that. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go back. Yeah, go back to my knowledge bases. Oh, okay. Oh, right, sorry. I completely lost that header for some reason. That's a bit weird, isn't it? I think it's because of this. Yeah, okay, so we're going to save and train that. And then we can test. So, what is your name? Well, maybe that was a bit, well, where do you live? Yeah, so that name question is probably not a great one because that is probably inside this professional chit chat part. So let's ask the question about the pizza. What is your favorite type of pizza? Okay, so there you go. That's working fine. So we're going to publish that. And these bits are really important. So just leave that on the page for now. We're going to jump back over into Teams. And we're going to click on the plus button and we're going to call an action and we're going to create a new flow, much the same as what we did with Lewis in the previous video. But this time, instead of passing anything through Lewis, we're going to pass it through the QnAmaker action. So the same trigger, Power Virtual Agents, input to output. Again, the input is going to be the question. And then we need to search for QnAmaker. And we want generate answer. And we are going to go for a new connection. Connection reference is QnAmaker JDR test. The API key is going to be in Azure. So we go to keys and endpoints inside your QnAmaker test. Click on the copy for the key and then come back to Teams and paste it in there. We don't need a site URL. Click create. Now, the knowledge base ID, service host, endpoint key, they come from the QnAmaker service itself, and it's all in here. So the knowledge base ID is this bit. So we need to copy that. And the service host is this bit here. The endpoint key is this. Now, if you see something different to this authorization endpoint key, what's happened is that if you remember when we created the service in Azure, there was that manage tick box. That means you've ticked that by mistake, and it's not going to work. We would need to delete the QnAmaker test service or whatever you called it in Azure, recreate it without that checkbox ticked. That's really important. So we're going to click copy and we're going to put that into Teams. And the question is going to be the question from Power Virtual Agents. And then we're going to add an action, and much the same as we did in the previous video, we are going to put a variable name, which is going to be the response. It's going to be a string. Then we're going to set the variable. and that is going to be the response, and that is going to be the answer's answer, which is the top ranking answer for the question. And then we are going to pass that back as the Q&A response, and that is going to be the response the output of the response variable. I'm going to give it a name, so this is a Q&A main test, and I remember to save and make sure that it does save. Once it's saved, we can jump back into Power Virtual Agents for Teams. We're going to get rid of the Lewis response, and we're going to call an action. We're going to use the Q&A main test. Again, we're going to pass through the unrecognized trigger phrase, and then we are going to show a message and provide the output, which is the Q&A response, back to the customer or client or whoever's using the chatbot. I'm going to save the chatbot, and then I should be able to ask it, what is your favorite pizza? Pepperoni, of course. Nice. So that's basically how to do that. Obviously, you can build out that Q&A maker. You can have lots of rich text formatting, like I've said. It's really good. But that's basically how to do that. Thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. I really appreciate you all doing that, and I will see you again next time. Thank you. Bye bye.